Hi, so today we're going to be doing Java Part 2, but this is going to be a little bit more advanced and it's basically focusing on object-oriented programming. So to start, what is object-oriented programming? So this exists in multiple languages, including Java and Python and other things too. So the good thing about object-oriented programming is that we don't have to repeat similar chunks of code again and again. So this makes coding a lot more efficient and just a better use of our time in general. And then, so to go with some vocab. So what is a class? So a class is like a template which we can use for new classes we want to create. So for example, instead of having to rewrite the same functions in multiple different classes, we can just use one class as a template so we don't have to rewrite the same chunks of code. This will make more sense when I give an example next, but this is just like the basics of it. And then objects are an instance of a class. So basically what that means is if there is a class, we can create an instance of that class, like an object. So it would be like, for example, if there was a class superhero, we could create an object called object Iron Man. So the object inherits almost everything from the class that it is an instance of. And the last topic we're going to do in this is inheritance, which is basically when classes can have children which follow the template of the original class but with added features. So I know this sounds kind of confusing now, but it will make more sense once I go into the examples. So for the beginning, so this is the example of an object. So this is a class superheroes and it has the object Iron Man with the different methods. So the good thing about this is it basically means that we could create multiple objects that include all the functions that were in the original class. And this just makes it easier because we don't have to create a new class every time we want to create a new object. So instead of having to create a separate class for Iron Man and Batman and Superman, we can just do one general class superheroes, which has a template, and then just follow that template for the rest of them. So let's do a little bit of practice just to make sure that it kind of makes sense. So first question is, which of the following could be an object of a food class? A car, B banana, C notebook, or D book? So you can take a second to think about that. And then the second question is what would be the class of an object notebook, which is again A car, B superhero, C school supplies, and D students. Okay, so these are the correct answers. So for the first question, it's asking which could be an object of a food class, which just means what could be an example of a food class. So a banana could be an object of food class because a banana is a food. And then for the second question, what would be the class of an object notebook? So basically, it's asking if there was an object notebook, what class did it come from? So it can't be a car or superheroes or students. So the only one that makes sense is school supplies. Now we're going to talk about inheritance. So this is like a little bit more complicated, but this is where object-oriented programming can be really helpful for us. So for example, here we have a class called superheroes and it has methods can fly, get enemy, and the location. So let's say we want to create we want Spider-Man to have an additional method that gets the name of his friends. But we still want all the functions that are in the superheroes. So what can we do? So like now what we have is we want to create Spider-Man, but we still want all the same code from superheroes. We just want to add one more thing. So we don't want to rewrite an entire class and rewrite the entire code. So instead of doing that, we can create a child class. So when we create a child class, it inherits all of the methods from the parent class and also adds additional methods. So for example, in this example, Spider-Man would be a child of superheroes. So now Spider-Man has all the functions, can fly, get enemy and location, but it also has get friends, which is what we wanted. And then we also have Batman, which also has all the methods from the superheroes original class, but also has the additional method get car. So now let's do some more practice questions. So which is not a child of the parent class? A, truck, B, SUV, C, plane, or D, van? And which is not a child of the parent class? Meat? A, chicken, B, beef, C, apples, or D, fish? And you can take a few seconds to think about that. So the correct answer is C, plane, and C, apples. So for the first question, which is not a child of the parent class car? So truck is a child of a car because it's kind of related. SUV is related to a car, van is related to a car, but a plane has nothing to do with the car, so it wouldn't really work. And which is not a child of the parent class meat, so obviously apples is the only one that doesn't fit the rest, so it would be C. This is like the next part of inheritance. So child classes can also have other child classes. So how this works is if there's a parent class that could have a child class with meat, and that child class could have another child class called chicken. So that would be the inheritance structure, and the bottom class, like in this example, chicken, would have the functions from meat, and it would also have the functions from food. So this makes our coding a lot more efficient in general. And this is how the inheritance structure would look for this example. So it goes from the most to least specific. So now this is our final practice problem. Which inheritance structure here makes sense? So remember that it should go from most specific to least specific. So it would be A, truck, car, Ford, B, Ford, car, truck, C, car, truck, Ford, and D, Ford, truck, car. So the correct answer is D, Ford, truck, and car, because the most specific is Ford, which is the brand of the car, and then truck, which is like a type of car, I guess, and then the most general of all of them is car. So I hope that makes sense. So this is definitely a lot more general. There's a lot of more nuances when it comes to inheritance and object-oriented programming, but this is just the basics, so I hope you learned something. Thank you.